Hi, this is Jeremy and Zach's flight assignment for Semester 2 flight. In this video, we will learn about 5 very important navigational systems and equipment that allows pilots to navigate while flying. Within this presentation, we will cover the following topics: altimeter, GPS, compass, INS, NDBs, and ADFs, all of which are crucial instruments for navigation, which are generally used together to navigate the aircraft efficiently.
The first and probably the most important instrument is the altimeter, which is one of the longest running instruments to be used in aviation history. An aircraft's altimeter allows the pilot to navigate their aeroplane vertically in relation to the static pressure at that altitude. The reference marks for vertical navigation by the altimeter is at the mean sea level, or MSL, and reads the static pressure in accordance to the International Standard Atmosphere (ISA). The ISA at MSL is 1013.2 hectopascals, or HPA, to which an aircraft's pressure instruments can be calibrated to pre-flight. At higher altitudes, there is less atmospheric pressure than at sea levels due to gravity. The altimeter picks up these changes in atmospheric pressure to establish changes in altitude. The altimeter works by having a contained flexible capsule called an aneroid that contains air. The exterior of the aneroid is exposed to the static pressure received from the static port that expands or contracts the aneroid according to the atmospheric pressure. The altimeter's pointers that are moved by mechanical linkage to the aneroid then display this as the plane's altitude. An altimeter's basic appearance is similar to that of a clock face, as it has numbers along its edge but has 3 needles that read the plane's altitude. These 3 needles relate to the plane's altitude according to 10,000 feet, 1,000 feet, and 100 feet scales. To read the plane's altitude, a pilot uses all 3 needles to give them a precise reading. By being able to determine an aircraft's altitude, pilots are better able to navigate over upcoming vertical obstacles such as towers and mountains, as well as providing pilots accurate readings to more efficient and safer altitudes.
A more advanced navigational aid to be used is the GPS. GPS, or Global Positioning System, is a satellite-based navigational system used to determine a fixed position on the surface of the planet. The concept of GPS began in the 1940s and 50s, but was not fully operational until 1994, and can be fitted into any form of transport, including aircraft. GPS works by connecting to a network of satellites, usually 4 or more, which orbit around the planet, distributing individual signals that the device can pick up. Using these signals, the GPS can calculate the location of the device and where the signals intersect. This is called triangulation, when at least 3 or more satellite signals overlap to determine the absolute or relative location of the GPS device at that point. Pilots with GPS are visually able to track their course and to see local aerodromes and points of interest displayed on the GPS's screen. This screen is located within the cockpit for easy accessibility by the pilot and the co-pilot. For example, in some cases, the pilot is able to input coordinates to a desired destination, and the GPS will give an ETA, which is an estimated time of arrival, and a heading relevant to that position to that current location. As well as providing the pilot navigational support, the GPS can transmit in real time to its server on the ground via a GPS communication network. This network allows for data to be received and transmitted by that aircraft, and to be documented and displayed on a monitor from the ground. This monitor can display multiple aircraft and their current locations and headings. If an aircraft is off course, ground control is able to radio in with that aircraft to fix its heading. GPS is one of the biggest advancements in navigation, providing tracking, heading, and landmarks for its user. The compass is one of the oldest devices used for navigation. The earliest compasses date back to the 2nd century BC and the 1st century AD, during the Han Dynasty in China. Since then, the basic principle remains the same. A light-weighted magnetized needle on a pivot reacts to the Earth's magnetic field that points to the Earth's north pole. A compass works by detecting the Earth's natural magnetic fields. The Earth contains an iron core that is part liquid and, like all magnetic fields, has 2 main poles, a north and a south pole. The compass's needle detects these magnetic fields that pull the needle towards them, hence pointing to north. The compass shows the aircraft's heading relative to magnetic north, and is the primary source of directional information for the heading indicator. Current aircraft have a direct reading compass filled with liquid in which a float is supported by a bar magnet inside. The compass contains 360 bearings, or degrees, covering all directions that aid the pilot traveling to other bearings other than magnetic north. The compass doesn't require any of the aircraft's electrical systems or is reliant on the measurement of static pressure to operate. Things that may affect the compass's operational capacity are magnetized objects inside the cockpit that will distract the needle from the Earth's north pole, and during banks, steep climbs, and steep descents, when the needle isn't able to properly move around the pivot. Compasses have been the core instrument used for navigation by pilots for many years, as they provide directional information at every degree relative to their position. INS stands for Internal Navigation System. It was originally invented for the old World War II German V-2 rockets, as they didn't have a global positioning system like we do today. This system is a computerized navigational aid that uses accelerometers and gyroscopes to estimate the position of the aircraft. The accelerometers are motion sensors that measure proper acceleration by the forces felt on the aircraft. The gyroscopes allow the INS to know the angle of the aircraft and its orientation. The INS uses gyroscopes and accelerometers together to find its position. Since the accelerometers measure the acceleration, this allows the INS to know how fast it was going, and the gyroscopes allow the INS to know what angle or orientation the aircraft was facing. So using both the accelerometers and gyroscopes, the INS can use dead reckoning to calculate where it is from its original position by knowing where they were facing and what speed they were going. NDB stands for non-directional beacon, because technically it does not give off any directional information. The NDB is the most common beacon in Australia, because of the simplicity and the cost of it is very cheap. However, not only that, but because it has a much larger range than most beacons, as it follows along with the curvature of the globe. This, however, can be affected by atmospheric disturbances and bad weather. The NDB consists of a very large tower which is located all over Australia and the world. However, it is usually placed at big airports or near them. The NDB sends out a signal in a 360-degree radius so it can be picked up in any direction by pilots. The signal is operated at frequencies between 190 kHz and 1750 kHz and is different for each individual beacon. As mentioned earlier, the NDB does not give any directional information to the pilot, so it coincides with a second piece of equipment called an ADF, which stands for Automatic Direction Finder. The ADF is found in the cockpit of the aircraft and picks up the NDB signal and calculates what direction it originated from. This then shows where the NDB beacon or tower is compared to the front of the aircraft. This is then shown on the ADF display so the pilot knows what direction to go in to get to the aerodrome. As you can see in the diagram, the red object is the NDB and the circles are a crude illustration to the ADF display. So an example of this, if you wanted to fly to Sydney's beacon, which is at a frequency of 416 kHz, you would just put that into the ADF and it will then show you immediately on the ADF display where to go as shown relative to your aircraft, which is similar to the display shown on this image. Thank you for watching and hope you found this information helpful. This has been Jeremy and Zach's Semester 2 flight assignment for Year 12 flight.